Welcome to this edition of the Men's Room Show. I am Linda Tilson. I'm joined by Mikeul Hughes. And tonight's special guest is Jacob Hansen. He is a personal fitness trainer. And tonight we would like to talk to his transformational journey, his transition into the field of personal fitness. And Jacob, we want to know more about where that began. And so we're going to have you begin with when that point was.
Yeah, I think the personal training ideology kind of started towards the end of my military career, thinking about like my career options getting out. Um, and a lot of people who are in the infantry transfer over to personal training. It's just a very direct correlation. And so I had thought about it, but at the time I was I was about 240 pounds and I was overweight and my back was super messed up. And so I wasn't able to exercise and I wasn't in a position to be of help to others. You can't say you're a personal trainer and help others when you in yourself is not healthy and ready and able. And so that's when the thought of being a personal trainer kind of popped in. And then it disappeared just as quick as it came in, kind of shooting it down like I'm not just myself, not healthy enough, not I was overweight. Like who am I as an overweight person to help people lose weight if I'm still overweight? Like that's not how that works. And so I just kind of shot down that idea. And then I hit a really dark time in my life, and you have to make a choice in those dark times, and it's either give up and not continue with life, which isn't really much of an option, or figure out a different way to do things and change it up. And once I kind of put myself in a better position and came out a lot better on the other side mentally and physically, I revisited the idea and said, you know what, let's do it. I'm in a good position. I've helped myself. Now I can help others.
So did anyone help you help yourself? How did you go from being that overweight, depressed state to where you're at now? Because, there is a difference.
Um, it's a mix of a lot of variables. A lot helps. Obviously, I had like support from my family. That was a big thing. I mean, it wasn't huge. I did most of it by myself. I think a lot of it is like I said, a lot of variables go into it. There's going to be some days where you don't have the motivation, and maybe you have a friend that says, "Hey, get off your butt. We're going to the gym." I didn't have that, and so for me, it was the it was the drive and the motivation and the discipline within me to just recognize that I did not like nor was happy with the life that I was living, and something needed to change. And if something was going to change and change for good, then I needed to be Johnny on the spot with the discipline. It needed to be a habit. I needed to switch addictions. I needed to be addicted to something good, something that would release all the negative energy.
Did you?
Absolutely.
I've got a bit of a question around the military. Did they have any support networks for you for weight loss or anything like that? Because I
No.
know the military is a bit of a joke when it comes to certain things like that, because they should be helping members. Because a lot of members do suffer from depression and stuff like that. And I know there is I think it's the VAC, which
We have
help
a
people,
VA.
but yeah, VA. That's what I was kind of curious whether they help you with that front, but it sounds like it was more of your own personal strength that got you through it.
Yeah, I mean, it was less of like in the military, right? Like I gained all the weight in the military because I was injured, and honestly, no, they don't. They don't help you. Actually, I feel like they compromise and make it a lot harder for you to lose weight because when I was overweight, you get put on something called the Army Body Composition Program, and in the infantry, it was called Fat Camp. You get sent to Fat Camp. And basically what that means is for the duration that you are considered overweight in the military. Keep in mind, I'm 5'11". I was at the time when I first went into ABCP, I was like 220 pounds and was classified as like obese. And so they're realistic standards for the infantry. But there's all different types of body types, and that goes into all that. Um, and so in the military, they make it a little bit worse because once you get put in the ABCP program, you have to lose either, I believe, 5 pounds, 7 pounds, 7 pounds in a month, or 2% body fat. And if you don't do that, then you are still in the program. And I think it's 3 months in a row, 3 months consecutively, you fail, you'll get kicked out of the military. Um, and then I think it's two times you fail, and then a year of progress in between. So if you fail it 2 times and then you pass it for like 6 months and then you fail it again, then they'll start setting paperwork. But the problem with that is when you're on the ABCP program, you're flagged. And what that means is you're not allowed to get free college. You're not allowed to do any type of schools. You're not allowed to go to airborne school, ranger school, sniper school, anything like that. Um, you're not even allowed to go to like a leadership school or something like that's necessary for a promotion, because you're not deemed as readily available by the military. You're not deemed as like you're failing expectations. You're a failure is how it's posted, and that's how people react to you too. There's a lot of fat shaming and a lot of bullying, and past the point of motivation. Like there's a line, like there's like a, hey, you're lazy, you're fat, let's do it, let's get to work. And then there's like beating somebody into the ground with comments, and it was more towards the beating into the ground side. So the military
There's
did
like
not help at all.
there's like a hazing and then there's bullying, because I know of hazing all too well, but then there's a
Yeah,
big line between hazing and just plain bullying, and it
yeah,
shouldn't be accepted, but it happens wherever you go, whether you're in school, life, work, or the military. It's bound to happen. And I sympathise with your story of having a bad back, because I was underweight with my bad back, and now I'm sitting at 290 pounds, but I'm 6'4", so it sits on me a bit differently. But it wasn't until I started to recover my back, because I couldn't do shit. I couldn't get
yeah.
out of bed properly. I couldn't move, couldn't even function right. And it wasn't until I started to improve my back that it helped. One thing that helped was changing my diet. And do you feel that the diets in the military weren't adequate enough for you to lose weight?
No, I mean, they emphasize good diet. Here's the problem. Uh, the MREs that you're given, right? Meals ready to eat. Anytime you're on a training exercise. So anytime you're not on a training exercise, you have what's called the DFAC, or the dining facility. And they're healthy enough. Keep in mind though, all of the food is cooked by 19, 20-year-old privates who, if I'm being totally honest, should not ever fucking be cooking ever again. So the food's ass. Sorry for my language. It's not
Oh,
good.
it's fine.
You'll most soldiers are a lot better off just buying and cooking your own food. Because it's just like super under seasoned, overcooked. Like you can tell they don't know how to cook. But the problem lies in when you go on training exercises. When you go on training exercises, you're given 3 MREs a day. Um, the MREs are meant for one day. For like, if a soldier was behind enemy lines and surviving, then one MRE is meant to have the same amount of calories that you have in one day. So a single MRE has something like 25 to 2,700 calories in it. And when you're out training, like, yes, you do burn a lot of that weight, just doing training exercises, but you're also, if you're having 3 of those a day, you can, that's 7,500 calories. And you're not eating all of it naturally, but it's a lot of food. And the problem with training is training will throw off your schedule. It's going to absolutely destroy any consistency. It's going to destroy any regimen or any schedule that you had, especially when it comes to the gym or when it comes to dieting, because you can't pack a healthy lunch to go when you're out in the field. That's not how it works. And so that's where the difficulty lies in the military is it's a very, very high stress job, which already causes your body to gain weight. And then on top of that, you just get put in situations where you can't consistently diet and you're overworked, which are horrible for your muscles and also raises your cortisol, your stress hormones, which in turn leads to gaining weight. And it's just a really, really bad environment to be able to get healthy and happy and have a good relationship with any type of like food, exercise, um, leadership, anything, honestly. It's a it's a very drown or
Vicious
thrive
cycle.
environment.
Yeah.
Vicious cycle as well, yes.
Like how did you overcome that whole experience from the end of the military to career to what you are now, and how you're a personal trainer and improved your health to the point of being able to do that?
You know, at the end of the day, it comes down to that choice. You know, like I think if you want it bad enough, you know, and everybody gets to a point, some point in their life when you have a choice to either completely give up and just throw in the towel and say, I'm always going to be a fat slob who hates myself for the rest of my life. Or you can get up and put some hard work in, and yeah, it's going to suck now, but in a week or a month or in 6 months or however long it takes, you're gonna feel better and you're relearning the foundations of living. I think a lot of people, especially you might be able to relate to this from Australia, but I think especially right now in this society, a lot of kids my age were grown on toxic relationships, high stress, like a failing society, um, and we our foundation for who you are as a human being and what you need to be happy and healthy and the best version of yourself is so vastly twisted, right?
Oh yeah.
Fast food's not good for you, right? Fast food's not good for you. Being fat's not okay. All right, it's the leading cause of death in America
Oh
is
yeah.
obesity. And so we were raised in a position where we were taught to say this is okay and you're okay being exactly who you are, which in a sense is true. You are who you are and that's okay. But somewhere along the way, we lost the ability to say, yes, I'm perfectly content with who I am. That's not going to stop me from striving to be a better version of myself. That's not going to stop me from being a constantly improving person myself. Like there's that thing in your brain that I think a lot of people my age, at least, is the only thing that I can assume in today's society. We weren't raised with that switch, and you have to get to a point where you either say I can give up and throw in the towel, or I can put my boots on, pull up my big boy pants, and get to work. And that's uh, that's how you pull yourself out of that. You know, it's a choice. It's a daily choice. Every single day, every single hour, every single minute. You know, you're winning little tiny battles all the time, right? Like think about how many times you're driving home and I don't know if you have these in Australia, but you're like, ah, man, I could really love like McDonald's or ice cream sounds so good right now. You know, like it's those little tiny things where you have to like, no, we're not doing that. Like it
Mm.
might feel good. We might love ice cream. I love ice cream. But am I gonna have it every day? No. Because I'm gonna turn back into that fat slob that I was, and I hated my life, and I didn't want to keep living a life. And that's not I don't want to ever go back to there. So the reward of ice cream is less than the danger of becoming who I was.
Well, that's the thing, as I often say to people, is do you want the short-term dopamine for long-term pain? Because that's all you're getting. For me, like I originally used to be 150 kilos when I was in high school. So that's like 320
300
pounds or something.
roughly.
Yeah, and I went from that to like I starved myself for 3 months, went down to 70 kilos because I didn't want to be fat. I hated it. I didn't have the support networks around me, so I just done what I could. It was like that switch flip to me. I was like, no, this is enough because my family has a big gene, and for me, like you could just walk down the road to get fish and chips or go get something from the fast food shops. One of the things that is good about Australia is because we're so widespread, fast food shops are sort of hard to get to. For me to go and get fast food, you have to travel half an hour in car. So it's just not worth it at the end of the day. And we do have the healthiest fast food on the planet here, but it still doesn't excuse the fact that it's not that healthy. Overall, like I was eating so much garbage and shit when I used to do cleaning, given that I wasn't gaining weight because I was working so much. Like I'd eat Domino's 3 nights a week, and I'd have like 4 or 3 pizzas each time I was eating it. Finish all that off with a bunch of chicken, and it just makes you feel dirty after it. Like, yes, it's an easy, cheap meal. You don't have to cook. You don't have to do anything because
Feels
you're
great
buggered.
while you're eating it. It's fucking
Yeah.
delicious.
Oh hell yeah! I can't disagree with that. It's just the short-term dopamine. You don't realize in the time that you're taking almost like years away from your life.
Yeah.
The more you
Yeah.
consume and go into that activity, and it's for me, it wasn't until I realized that I needed to change my diet completely. I went to a carnivore diet because it's simple. Like we shouldn't have to think about what we should be eating and how we should be eating and how often we should be eating it. I was like, stuff it. I just gonna eat meat all day, every day, easy. So
Yeah.
like you still got to cook it and stuff, but it'll also when you're having to cook the meat, you stop yourself from eating as much, which is a
Yeah.
massive benefit. So, like for me, just being on this diet, I lost 8 kilos in 1 month, and
Yeah.
that's like fucking 16 pounds in 1
16
month, which
pounds
was
roughly.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
that's where it improves your mental health, your physical health, and stuff like that. But it definitely comes down to societal standards. Australia is a few years behind America, so a lot of things that happens in America tends to follow through with Australia. But with generational stuff, that's the same. Like I grew up in that sort of time when you were told to, it was okay if you won last place, at least you participated, it was fine if you were a bit bigger or if you like this or that. And it's like, it's shit. Like we should aspire to being the best versions of ourselves, and that's physically fit, mentally healthy, looking after the relationships in which we have, being financially stable, these sort of things. And like it started back when I was in school. We weren't taught finances, we weren't taught how to work out and do things. We're like, oh, let's go play some sports. We'll play a little bit of football, and that was about it. Or gridiron. It's rugby. That's what it is. So that's what we'd go and play. And even still, it wasn't like actual physical activity. It was us just running around kicking a ball. It wasn't what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. Your schools, even back in your day, Linda, were probably teaching a lot more of workouts and how you should be eating and how you should be acting and just financial wisdom as well. It's sad to see the education system come so far from where it once was, I feel. And I think it's different for each country, but like you can especially see it in America right now. There's a wave of.
It's sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's detrimental, look at it as a science experiment. If you had 10 people in a room and you said, hey, the person who sits in this chair the longest will win $100. And then you sit there and wait, and then you also find out, hey, turns out everybody's actually getting $100. It doesn't matter if you're in first place. It doesn't matter if you win. And then you'll just see everybody stand up. They don't care. It kills ambition. It kills dreams. It kills value, right? What how healthy and how happy and how okay are you with yourself when you're just treating your body like trash, like I was there, I was overweight, and you wake up every morning and you just hate life. Like you have a stomach ache because you ate fucking top ramen at midnight because you had cravings. You have a stomach ache, you feel groggy, you feel lethargic, you're not energized, you're just depressed and unhappy. And as much as people want to say like that's okay, Like if you want to throw your life in the trash, all right, that's okay. That's what I get from that, you know? And it's not even like a, oh, I'm better than them type of thing. Like I was in the same exact position. It's just once you once you realize that that's not okay, and holy shit, eating a salad is gonna make me feel so much better than eating a whole pizza to myself. Like once you start realizing those things and you start rebranding that foundation that you were raised by, and you completely change your life. You start waking up with energy, you start enjoying your days, you don't have a 2 p.m. crash where you feel like you're gonna fall asleep driving home from work. That's a huge, like, a glucose sugar thing.
Well, the other thing for me was coffee, quitting coffee. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize how dependent I was on coffee because I was having a lot of coffee, probably 6 to 7 a day, but I was having 3 teaspoons of coffee or 4 teaspoons in it black. And I had the strongest coffee. And it wasn't until I quit it completely, probably a week after, I actually started to feel the effects of it, the benefits. And like being off coffee for this long now, I won't go back ever. It's not something I miss. It's a bitter taste. It tastes like crap. The only thing it does is makes you think that you stay awake or wakes you up earlier, but all it does is take away from the day later. So
Yeah.
coffee has so many negative benefits. Like, I understand why it was introduced in the beginning because people were being overworked, but that's going back 50, 70 years when people were working 12-hour shifts and stuff like that. And they were burnt out because they'd be working 12-hour shifts all week, every week. And they
Yeah.
needed something to pep themselves up. But because we work 8 hours a week, 8 hours a day, that's not worth it. Like, honestly. And it's, as you said, it's having some water and having some salad instead of having some coffee and having a burger. Like, just replacing those bad habits with good positive habits, and they lead to good things. And it's sad to see it's like the body positivity movement and how twisted that's become. Like, I believe you should be positive about your body, but you shouldn't be positive about the fat in which you have.
You
You
should
shouldn't be
love
positive
yourself.
about how big you
You
are.
should love yourself, but you should also be fully aware of what flaws you have. And a lot of people
Yeah,
don't want to admit that they have flaws because we're twisted in our mind to think that flaws are a bad thing. Flaws are what make us human, right? And that's that's
yep.
that's what makes us human, and we're never going to be perfect, and that's okay. But what does need to happen is you need to always be striving to fix your flaws, right? Like, I this might just be me and my mentality, but I could never sit in a position and be like, man, there's all these things wrong with me, and I'm gonna do nothing about it but complain every day that these are the same things. I know all the steps to fix them. I know what I have to do, but it's too hard, and I don't really want to. Like,
So I got
it
a bit of
all
a question.
narrows down to, at the end of the day, do you want to?
Like, how for me, I've struggled with that for a long time because I suffered from addiction and stuff like that of different sorts, and um, I still struggle with getting the discipline that is required. Like, how? Because I know you've got experience with the military, so you had that discipline instilled upon you in that. But how would you suggest someone start changing their life for the positive and instilling that positive discipline and replacing occasional motivation for consistency?
So your first step will always be to, how do I put this? You want to recognize your bad habit, and you want to switch it out with a good habit, right? So you want to find a good habit that you can switch out, because your body is an addict. We're all addicted to something, right? The trick is you got to switch out the bad addictions for the good addictions, right? And so the first step is to recognize what change needs to happen, right? And then you have to align it with your schedule. And what I mean by that is, when I first started out, every single morning before work, I packed a backpack full of workout clothes, threw it in my car, and every single day after work, without fail, no matter what I had to do that day, I went to the gym. And I had my backpack in my car. My gym was on the way home from work. There was no excuses, right? You have to put yourself, and sometimes it's difficult because you're gonna sometimes you have to isolate yourself fully. You have to put yourself in a position where you don't have excuses to go and work out.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes that's gonna be hard, right? Um, the best way you can look at it is you have to have that mindset switch where on the days where it's hard, good. That means you're doing something right. Nothing in that's absolutely amazing in this world that's meaningful and purposeful and gives you an actual purpose in your life is going to come without a ton of hard work. Hard work and challenges means you're getting better and you're succeeding. They're good things as long as you learn from them. Um, and once you kind of realize that, then you can almost put yourself in a mode where when you don't want to, that is your motivation, right? I think of it as a little devil on my shoulder, right? And every single time I don't want to go to the gym, this little devil, it's never in your mind is, I don't want to go to the gym. It's, oh, I have something else I could do. Oh, I have a meeting. I'm going to be running late. Oh, I had a really, really hard day at work. So I already burned enough calories. I don't have to go to the gym. That's the little devil on your shoulder. And when I hear that, I think I'm just gonna lose if I don't go to the gym right now. If I listen to this voice in my head that's telling me to quit, I'm just gonna turn right back into that person I was, the person I hated, the person who wasn't happy with himself. So it narrows down to that choice. How bad do you really want it? And then it's also cut out the variables. Cut literally all the variables out. Make it so that you have to. You don't have a choice. What's the choice? Go home and sit on the ground. You're not going to eat. You haven't worked out today. You're not going to play video games. That's a waste of time. You haven't worked out today. If you want to waste time, go to the gym. Go and work out. That's not like there's nothing productive about sitting at home and playing video games all day. That's not a bad thing in moderation. I play video games. Not everybody, but most people play video games. That's not a horrible thing. I'm saying switching out those bad habits. So instead of playing video games for 5 hours a day after I get off work, I'm going to work straight to the gym because I have no other choice. That's my only option. That's the only thing I'm doing directly off of work is going to the gym. And then I can still play 2 hours of video games. I can still do what needs to be, or I can still do my chores, like you're gonna get what needs to get done. It's just how bad do you really want to? How much time are you willing to cut out?
One of the things I found that was really beneficial was we often price of our environment. So a good example of what you're eating is getting rid of all the shit in your cupboards, all the sugars, all the shit that just doesn't need to be there, and replacing
Yep.
it with healthy options. And then also making it harder. So instead of getting a bunch of frozen shit to chuck in the air fryer, getting a lot of healthy stuff. So you have to cook. So every time you're cooking, it's not a punishment, but it's a deterrent from wanting to
Yeah.
eat.
And
And that's
that's
one of the
that
ways in which I've done that.
eliminating. Sorry, go ahead.
Here you go. You go.
And that's that eliminating the variables. I was talking about it. You said exactly what I was saying about the gym with food, right? Because even on those days where you're like, oh, I want some ice cream. And then you go downstairs and you threw out all of your ice cream and all you have is strawberries. You're like, oh shit, all right, gotta eat some strawberries. But then eventually, it becomes a habit and eventually you can cleanse your body and your body like enjoys eating those things because it's natural and it brings actual substance to you besides the fake food that we've
The
experienced and
processed
been
crap.
told. Yeah.
Like that's
It's
the
just
worst part is
eliminating that variable.
that is the worst part with today's societies. We've taught that being lazy is healthy, and that's quite the opposite. Being lazy does not achieve anything. And for me, I had a really bad gaming addiction. I'd sit there for 12, 14, 24 hours straight on the game and wondering why like years of my life just wasted away. I'm now 27 this year and I played games for fucking way too long, and probably 12, 14 years. I played games religiously. Like I still love it. I still will do it every now and again, but I rarely do it compared to what I used to. And for me, I used to smoke weed. I was a weed addict for 12 years. I smoked it
I still do.
religiously. I thought I couldn't go. What was that?
I said I still do. I'm actually a big advocate for weed.
Oh, I advocate for it, but for personal use for me, I got away from it because I couldn't even, like, I'd have one and then go to the toilet. I'd have one, go downtown. I'd like pump a whole session and go do something because I thought I needed that. That's what helped me focus. And it was quite the opposite. It was just a distraction, something to distract myself from what I actually needed to be doing. And it's exactly right.
Let's
Listening to that
silence your
little
mind.
devil. Well, that's it. Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm which I've done it because I'm like ADHD of the brain, I always like to say, and I'm constantly thinking, constantly doing stuff. And I got to the point where I was smoking and I had such a high tolerance that it done nothing for me. I could smoke all day and I'd barely even feel it. And that's when I was like, enough's enough, especially because I was smoking tobacco, but I wasn't smoking tobacco through cigarettes. I smoked it through a pouch and a tobacco pipe. And that didn't help either. That just added to me and how I felt. And I couldn't even walk 200 meters without getting out of breath. I was like, enough's enough, quitting cold turkey because I found a couple of people, one person in particular that helped change my life and shape it for the better. A bit of a mentor and a role model. Even though I've had no direct contact with him, he's done more for me than most other male role models. And that's one of the things that I sort of have seen a lack of, and you probably have too. There's no male role models out there showing you what you should be doing, how you should be acting, what you should be eating, what you should just do in general. Like
Because
it's
it's been
sad to say.
ostracized. It's been
Yeah,
ostracized. We hear things
to
all the
be,
time about toxic masculinity or how having too much testosterone is a bad thing, you know?
yeah.
But it was a spun narrative, you know? Like there's a difference. There is toxic masculinity, but then there's also being a man, right? And being a man who has purpose and who has value and who brings something to the world. And that's vastly different from what we've received just because honestly men our days in our society are ostracized and told we're not supposed to be men and we're not supposed to act like men, and if you do act like a man you're toxic and you're unhealthy and you're not accepting or you're a supremacist, you know. It's been labeled as bad. We're taking all the good things in this world and flipping it upside down. We're
It's like
labeling them as bad.
one of the role models that I follow that a lot of people despise because of how he does things, but it's Andrew Tate. He's done
Mm.
more for males and men in general than any other person has. He will call you out and say, if you're fat, you're a bitch. You should fix your life. If you're broke, you should fix it. You should fix these qualities because a man is meant to be a man. It's not meant to be a woman. We're being
Yeah.
taught to be more feminine. And I agree that we should be talking about emotions. We should be talking openly amongst men and talking about these things, but we shouldn't be sitting here dressing up in dresses, acting like these girls on the internet just to get attention and think that that's okay. It's not. Men should be out there working the hard jobs that are required, doing the tasks that females don't want to do. Like there's jobs around in Australia that I've not seen one female ever do. And yet they preach equality, but they never do these jobs. And that's where I'm all for equality and equal pay and equal opportunity. But you can't scream equality and then only choose what you want to do. And
Yeah.
that's what it feels like happening. Like these men who used to be men because they've had such a feminine upbringing or they've had so many female influences around them, or they've just listened to the wrong people, have now gone from working the hard jobs that are required to working meaningless jobs, 9 to 5 office jobs. And that's why there's a shortage in blue collar workers. It's why there's a shortage in people that actually move the world forwards now. And it's sad to see that the world's gotten to such a state. It's like an experiment that's gone bad, yet they're continuing on with the experiment.
But that's the thing. Their experiment's going perfectly. It's going perfectly. There's no one once stood up and said being fat is okay. All the science says no, but I'm saying being fat is okay. And the whole world was like, yeah, that fucking makes sense. No, that's not what happened. What happened is there is a narrative that's been spun for years, decades, generations, where it's okay to be yourself. It started with it's okay to be yourself, which it is, right? But then it became we're accepting of everybody, right? And then it became you don't actually know who yourself is, right? Like a lot of these people who are dressing up in dresses, and doing this and that for attention or whatever, they don't know who themselves are. They don't wake up in the morning and they say, I know who I am. I know my purpose. I know what value I bring to the world. They don't, because you can't, right? It's a trauma response. It's an attention grabber. It's what'd be a good, I can't think of another one. It's a trauma
It's
response and attention grabber. It's not
well,
a meaningful, deep
it's something
connection
that
with yourself.
I've found that's it's interesting when you sit back and think about this. It's like America's the prime example of this, but America has been the divided states for decades and decades, and it's like there was a slow decline in mental health, and it's like all these mentally ill people. And when I say mentally ill, I'm not talking about insane and stuff. I'm just talking about people who are depressed or
Yeah,
unhappy and
depression.
things like that. And they were slowly converted over to these sort of movements that were bullshit. Like for me, I 100% agree with the gay movement. The gay movement's fine. Like I understand that, and I preach for that in some extent, because they shouldn't be bullied, they shouldn't be ostracized and stuff like that. If they want to do that, they can do that, as long as they're not harming other people. But when it gets into the tricky territory is convincing people that they're female when they have feminine thoughts, but they're a male. And that could be just talking about your emotions. Or it's convincing that a girl is a guy because she might look like a boy, or she might dress like a boy, she might act like one. And that's not the case. Like, I'm really, really good mates with a lot of people that look like they could be a part of the opposite sex, but they're not, because they understand who they are and what they are. They're not afraid to say, no, I'm a female. I was born a female, but I like to dress in guys' clothes. There's nothing wrong with that. But because there's so many mentally ill people out there nowadays that just want to attach themselves to anything. It's like an identity crisis. They're trying to find
Yes,
something to make
yes.
themselves feel better.
Mhm.
And it's sad to see. Like the whole
And
transgender
that
movement.
stems down to not knowing who you are. Like you've
Yeah,
never, we're living in a world full of dopamine that makes it physically impossible for you to just sit here. Like, when was the last time you sat in complete silence for 10 minutes and just thought?
I do that
I
all the
can't, I
time,
can't tell you the
honestly.
last time I've done it, because
Oh,
we're
I
we're
literally
in
done
a,
it yesterday.
yeah, and you probably have gained so much just from those 10 minutes of sitting and thinking in your own thoughts. And
Well,
we're in a world where you can get stuck in swiping. You can get stuck in I need to go and make money. I'm always on the run. I'm always going. I always have stuff to do. I'm always super busy. Everybody has 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Everybody has 10 minutes to spare. No, I could take anybody in this world, and I promise you, I could find 10 minutes in their schedule where they could just sit there and shut everything out and just think. And I bet you, if they did that for 2 weeks, they'd have a couple epiphanies about who they were and what they want to do in their life. We're just in a constant state of comparison on our phones and on our electronics, and we're not truly sitting down and asking ourselves who we are and who do we want to be. Might not
that's
be who
exactly
you
it.
are right now, but who do you want to be?
Like I 100% agree with that, and that's where, for me, a lot of these times of thinking came from when I was smoking weed, because I get so stoned in the early years that I just sit there and think and
Mhm.
just be absorbed by my thoughts. And sometimes it led me astray to do stupid shit. But at the same time, I understood them. I was understanding how I was and who I was. And even still, I'm still discovering who I am, because we continue to learn, we continue to change. As age comes along, we continue to find who we truly are at this time and this place, because you could be one person when you're 20, you can be a completely different person when you're 30. Just because you've done something in the past doesn't mean that defines you by your future. And for a lot of people, they just hold their whole actions against what they've done in the past. So if they've sat there and scrolled for a lot of years, or they've played games or smoked weed or done hard drugs, they say, oh, I'll always be this because I've done that in the past. That defines my future. But that's quite the opposite. It was in your past. Just because it's in your past doesn't mean you should be letting it define your future. And that's where people just are absorbed by, I don't even know what. Like I call them sheep of the herd, because they don't have independent thoughts. They just sit there and mindlessly work or mindlessly scroll, and don't sit back for 10 minutes and just think and just ask why. Why am I doing this? What's the benefit? How can I improve? Is there anything I can change? And it's goes back to weight loss, like being unhappy and stuff. You could sit there and be like, oh, I'm just going to go get a feed because I'm unhappy. Or you could sit there and ask, well, why? Why am I going to get a feed? What's making me feel this way? Are there ways in which I can change it?
Yeah.
Asking why when you're having that time period of 10 minutes, because the more you ask why, the more you find the answers you seek.
Yep. 100.
Yeah.
I 100% agree, especially when you. Sorry, Linda, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to jump in and speak to something that I've heard being discussed throughout the whole conversation. And that's that whole concept of we don't actually sit with ourselves. Like it's not something that if we're not taught by somebody else and we're moving through society at the speed of light, then we don't take the time to sit with ourselves. That's why we don't identify with ourselves, because we don't actually sit and think. And when we have a problem or a situation that comes up, a lot of times we find distractions, addictions, and other things that move us away from who we are. But if we just would get comfortable sitting in that 10 minutes of silence with no nothing and sitting and thinking and building that time to do that, you will get those epiphanies, because you always hear about the people that say that the 10 minutes they might get to themselves is that 10 minutes in the shower. And that's when the best ideas of anything come out. I'm one of those because I don't actually sit down long enough either. I'm always doing something because something needs to get done. There's only so many hours in the day. We all have a choice of how to use our hours, and I choose to use them all. But honestly, getting into the practice of being intentional, of being quiet for 10 minutes a day, it shouldn't be that hard, but it is.
Yeah.
But once we start to do it and get consistent and disciplined doing it, then we're actually going to take that 10 minutes that we've carved out that was so hard. We are actually going to appreciate something we had to work so hard for. And we have this new reality. And with this new reality, what we're going to do is we're actually going to take that 10 minutes and it's going to become 13 minutes, 20 minutes. And it's going to come out to maybe we have an hour of quiet where we sit with ourselves, we think about who we are, what we want to be doing, and make those mental models where we can actually think about, how can I get to this? You actually take the time to process a plan, and then you can go into execution. When you run from thing to thing, let your mind race all over, you're not ever going to get there. You're just going to stay in the same place. And so this, it really takes me back to, that whole concept. We are not going to value what we don't work for. I've heard that all throughout this conversation tonight. And, going back to the very beginning, Jacob, when you were saying that, as a coach, I got to have my own shit together in order to be this trainer. And I can't do this if I'm overweight. There is some truth to that. And because you decided that you wanted to change your mindset and flip the switch, and you started to do things to improve the life that you have, even when it was hard, it's helped you where you are today. And because of that journey that you went through, you can sit with the people that are going to come through your physical fitness training programs, and you're going to be able to speak to that because you've been there, you've experienced it. You're not just someone that's been fit all your life and it comes easy to you. You can stand behind somebody and say to them, we're going to get going today. We're going to work really hard. And yes, you can do more. And by the way, let's do it. I mean, when we have our sessions, I get that from you. When we're always working as hard as we can so I can become the best version of myself in that workout, and to keep going, build that muscle, get that discipline, to have that there. And just in 2 weeks, the amount of energy that I have is off the charts. I feel good. I can make good decisions. I can handle all my emotions much better. And I know that that's where I want to be, because I was there in the early part of 2020 and I let life happen and did all of the great work I did that I worked so hard for. So I know that when I work really hard, that reward that I'm going to get, I want it to be long-term this time. I want it to be more than that shorter term that I experienced. And,
Yeah.
as a coach myself, I may not have every area or dimension of my life perfect, but I don't have to
Nobody
have it
does.
perfect. Nobody does. If you're a coach and you say you have all your stuff together, I call
You
bullshit
don't.
on you.
You're
Because,
lying.
yeah, you're lying. You're not being human. And I appreciate and value coaches that walk the talk. They've been there. And I'm not looking to put a coach on a pedestal. I even don't want to be put on a pedestal. I know that I have blind spots. I know I have things to work on. And I consistently do it every day so I can become that best version of myself for me, not for somebody else, not for all the validation. Now, I do like words of affirmation. That is something that I appreciate, but I've learned to take those words of affirmation and say them to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
Yeah,
need to
that's
look for everyone else to feed them back to me. Yes, it's nice to get the compliments. Yes, it's nice to, spend quality time with people and whatnot, but the quality time I need to be spending is with myself.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so in my coaching, I'm all about empowering people to get to that space where they can sit with themselves, see all parts of themselves, because there's some parts of ourselves we don't like to look at, we don't like anyone else to see. And really, those are the parts that we need to work on for
I'm really
ourselves.
glad that you brought that up because it also narrows down a really, really huge part in all of this is how much love for yourself do you have? How much do you love yourself? Do you love yourself enough to get better? Do you, at the very least, love somebody else enough to get better until you can love yourself? You're never gonna be perfect. We're humans. We fuck up. That's what makes us humans. Like I said, the key to all of it, the key to life is learning from it. Learning from it. Knowledge is power. Learning is everything. If you're not learning from something that you're doing, then you're not going to get better. You're not going to improve. And us as humans, as much as we try and say it's okay to be static and stationary, we're sharks. The second you stop moving, it's horrible. You're killing yourself. Every second that you're not moving forward, you're killing yourself. And it's okay to take rest and relaxation, which is very, very different from being lazy. Rest and relaxation has restorative, healthy benefits to it. That's okay. But there's a time to rest and there's a time to get up and get to work and fix yourself and improve yourself and make the daily choice and change to become the person that you want to be. There's not that I love the saying, the hardest step is always the first. Change sucks. Change is hard. Food is literally more addictive than cocaine. It's been scientifically proven. It's hard. It's so hard. I got DQ today. I got ice cream today, You mess up, you make mistakes, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it, but learn from it and improve and make sure you do not make the same mistake again. You will, but do your best not to.
See, I couldn't agree with that more. Is one of the things you said is knowledge is power, and I say that all the time. But the other thing is implementing that knowledge. That's the hard thing, learning how to implement it, because you can know all the things in the world, but if you don't implement it, then you're as useless as a newborn baby. So, and that's just the thing at the end of the day is the more you learn, the better. But if you don't know how to, like, you can learn how to work out, but if you don't work out, you'll never achieve that dream body that you want.
Yep.
And it's sort of interesting to see. And like, as you sort of spoke on too, is you had ice cream today, but at the same time, it might be a treat. You might be like, well, I've worked out for 2 months, so I might treat myself this one time. And it's in moderation, because all good things can go bad, like working out.
Yep.
Work out too much, you'll not
You'll
atrophy, but
injure
you'll
yourself so quick.
yeah, you'll overwork your muscles and stuff. And that's where I sort of found that there's a sweet in between with working out. You've got to listen to your body and understand it. And if you're not feeding it the right things, then you won't understand what it's trying to tell you, because you're going to get mixed signals or wrong signals. And with a strong mind comes a strong body, and with a strong body comes a strong mind. Like, you need both in order to be 100% there. So a lot of people nowadays think, oh, I'm mentally okay, even though I'm fat. That's not the case. You're just happy with your current circumstances because you've never been healthy. That's the thing. Well, they might have been healthy, but they were slowly and surely corrupted by their own decisions. They were taken to a point where it's almost of no return.
Yeah.
And that's where I got to with my weight, because I was sitting there, I was like, oh, I'm convincing myself I'm just bulking. And I was eating the dirty, like I was on a dirty bulk. I was not happy with it. And that's where I just turned around and said, no, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to change my diet completely, do the one thing that I've seen that has the most benefits out of all the diets, because I've tried keto, I've tried eating just salads and shit like that, but I don't get the same sustenance. I don't get the high protein that I need. And now every day that I'm eating, 8 eggs a day, lamb chops, sausages, burger patties, whatever meat I can get my hands on, I feel 10 times better. And that's just it. Like I've learned the knowledge, but I'm implementing it. I'm not just sitting there saying, oh, it'd be good to have a nice diet and go get more macas. So it's one of the interesting parts about the whole journey of life is it isn't easy. As you sort of said, like life is a pain in the ass. It's not going to be fun. But the thing I've learned, just because life is a pain in the ass doesn't mean that when you have those fun moments, they aren't shit as well. Like those fun moments can be shit because you could be out with your family. You're overweight. You can't do stuff with the kids. But if you're working on your life and you're working on your health, then those fun moments become 10 times better because you're making positive memories. You're doing things like right now. If you were the same way that you were and you had a family, like you'd be 10 times unhappier because you're like, sorry, son, I can't go throw the ball, or we can't go for a walk because my back's not up for it. And it's because the actions you've taken beforehand, that's now if you have kids, you're like, sweet, let's go. We'll go to the baseball field. We'll go for a jog, see what we can do. And it's building those positive actions with the kids that you have in the future.
And on top of kind of going all the way back to what we were saying about generational change, if you're a super overweight, depressed, unhappy, vengeful parent, and monkey see, monkey do. The best leaders lead by example. If your kids see you doing that all the time, then they think that's okay. They don't know better. They don't know anything else. And now all of a sudden, you're not only killing yourself, you're killing your kid.
But you're a product of your environment. And if your environment's toxic, you're bound to grow toxic, so to speak. And that was the case for me because I grew up in a town with the highest suicide rate in all of Australia. I grew up with a town that had a massive amount of drug use, of alcohol abuse, and it was sad to see how much I became like that town. And it wasn't until I sort of stepped back and had the time to think about something that I really sort of understood that just because I've grown up in a place or I've grown up in an area doesn't define me. So that's sort of the thing that I sort of understood over time. Like, just because you went to the military and you were bigger, that doesn't mean that's going to define your future. Like that's just at the end of the day. Like just because you've had certain actions happen to you, it's not going to define you. You might have been an alcoholic in the past. Like I was an alcoholic for years. And it wasn't until I cut out that activity after I had some stuff happen that my life improved. And I understood I was that person, but I've improved now. I've learned my lesson the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah, and honestly, there was something that you said earlier that stuck with me, and I had a response to it. You said that when you're overweight and you're unhealthy, then your fun times become shit, right? On the flip side of that, when you're happy and you're healthy, you can turn shit times into a lot of fun, and that's also that goes along to it's not just a physical change. That's the big thing. That's what people think it is. They go, oh, I'm not physically fit enough to go into the gym. It's not a physical thing. It's not. It starts in here. It always starts in the choice
I've
to go
seen people.
The ability to go to the gym is all right here.
I've
And
seen
once you
people
kind
400 pounds. Like just because you're 400 pounds doesn't stop you from going to the gym. And you've probably seen it as well. People that are so overweight, you're like, why are you here in the first place? But then you understand they've got the right mentality. They're going on the right path. They're doing the right thing. And they've got that mindset that they need.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I'm looking for a quote here. Give me a second. And I think something that anybody who would be listening to this, a great thing to know is on top of that, if your roadblock is you're not going to the gym because you feel like you're going to be judged or you feel like you're going to be criticized, or you feel like you're not going to be doing good enough to even deserve to be in there, I'll tell you right now, the most inspiring, my favorite people that I love to see in the gym as someone who goes to the gym every single day is the overweight people, because that tells me they're putting in work, they're making a good, healthy change for their life, and it's inspiring. I love seeing that. I love seeing that. And every single time I do, I'll go up and be like, dude, you're doing absolutely amazing. Keep it up. Because that's the behavior that should be rewarded, not sit at home, play video games, eat pizza. Get up, make yourself better, fix yourself for your future, for yourself, for your family, for fucking anything. Literally anything. Just be better. Just improve. That's why I named my business Improve.
That's very fitting. Thing that's what I was going to ask. Before we ended up here shortly, is you're in the Washington area, aren't you? So if people want to get coaching services off you, like where can they find you, and like what can they do?
Yeah, so I do online and in-person coaching. So anywhere in the world, you can get a hold of me. I'm not sure if there's somewhere to put like socials or anything. In this, my website is improvefit.us. It's a You'll be able to get in direct contact with me through my website. If anybody's curious, I do online training, so we can work with schedules. I can build workout plans. We can figure out that side of things, and then also do in-person training. I can come in, I can help build your confidence. I can kind of show you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Um, it's a lot more like in-depth, personalized experience, but both are options and both are available. The in-person is available to anybody in the Washington State, kind of like Pierce County, Thurston County area. Online coaching is open to anybody in the world. I know time zones pretty well. I'll work with time zones. You give me a holler and I'll holler right back, and we'll find something that works for the both of us. Yeah.
No problem. That's where I was just going to ask too. You got a quote handy at all?
Sorry?
I got a quote handy at all?
A quote. I was looking for it. There's a Marcus Aurelius quote that I've been looking for for a while now. And let's see if I can find this. I can't find it, so I'm gonna use this other Marcus Aurelius quote. On that notion, Marcus Aurelius was a Roman philosopher and emperor, one of the greatest Roman emperors, and he created Stoicism, right? And if this is a men's mental health channel, so if you are a man, read everything you can about Stoicism. It's going to help you so much. It helps you get a grasp on your emotions. It helps you find gratitude in the small things in life. It helps you slow down and make those tiny little choices a little bit easier. On the Marcus Aurelius part, one of my favorite quotes from him is, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And at a really shallow view, that's pretty obvious, like, oh yeah, you think happy thoughts, you're gonna have a happy life, right? But not everybody can always think happy thoughts. One of the things that you're taught in therapy is your thoughts and emotions and actions are like a train. And at the very front of that train, you have the conductor. The conductor is choosing where the train goes, and that's your thoughts. So your thoughts get to choose about, and then your emotions and your actions are the cargo caboose, the value part of the train. And anywhere that your thoughts go, your emotions are going to go, and your emotions influence your actions. So anywhere your thoughts go, your emotions and your actions will follow. So going right back to, it's not a physical change, it's a mindset change. And the second you start telling yourself, I'm a gym person, I go to the gym, you start going to the gym. Every day that you go to the gym, you're building that confidence in your brain that you are, in fact, a gym person. And now you go to the gym, and now you have the confidence to go to the gym. And none of that started from you physically going to the gym. That all started from you having the idea to go to the gym and for you affirming on it, acting on it. You have that thought, and then you got to have the discipline to get up and be like, nope, we're going to do that. And honestly, this sounds so stupid and it sounds so simple. And before I figured it out, I hated when people told me this so much. It's so simple. Just do it. Just get up and do it. Go. Don't think about it. Don't give yourself excuses. 3, 2, 1 that shit and get up and go. That's
one of the things I like to do. I just say, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, not going to think about it. Just fuck it. Let's go do it. Like,
go.
it's as simple as that. Like, it's like someone asking if you're going to go lift this thing, but you're sitting there on the game playing and just like being lazy. Like, fuck it. Let's go. Like, let's go do that. Or someone's asking you to go out to a restaurant or something, like, but do I want to? Like, no, screw it. Do it on impulse, because more often than not, the times when you don't want to do something is when you should double down and do that action. It's very rare for you to not want to do something and it is bad for you. Like going and stepping into a minefield. Yeah, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. But going out into the gym or working on yourself or asking one of your mates if they're okay, or asking like just sitting down with your guys and stuff like that and be like, well, what are we doing, like, mate, like, fellas, we could sit here and drink, we should go out and like work out together, or we should build something, or we should improve like one of the things of our family each, like we should build something for the kids or do something that's going to be positive instead of sitting there just drinking and doing nothing. Because don't get me wrong, I still enjoy an occasional drink. But I know that,
100%.
oh yeah, like it's refreshing at the same time, but it's also, it reminds you of what not to do. Like if I do this too much, I know I'm going to step over that limit again and I'm going to mess up. Let's not try to do that. And that's where,
say I drinking, for example, let's say I do drink once a month, right? What happens almost every single fucking time you drink? What comes the next morning?
that lovely hangover.
And that's so much worse than the benefits that you get from drinking. And not only that, but once you start kind of getting into this habit of productivity and constant improvement, stuff like that, hungover me is staying in bed till 11 noon. I'm gonna go to a fast food restaurant and get some greasy shit that's gonna feel good in my stomach. I'm gonna sit in bed, I'm gonna sleep, and I'm gonna watch TV all day. That's not productive. That's not helpful. Right? You're taking a night of fun and
substituting it,
subsequently ruining your next day. Because I mean, I know people that can work and do great things at 7 a.m. off a hangover. I'm not one of those people. I'm in bed till 2 p.m.
It depends on the severity of which I've drank. So usually if I drink spirits, I'm not too bad. If I'm drinking beer, I just can't handle it because it takes me 2 cartons to get to the same level of drunk as 2 bottles of straight liquor. So I 100% agree, because I used to go and get absolutely shit-faced the night before and then wake up at 4 a.m. and go clean. And I would stop cleaning at 9, then go home, then sort of eat some bad food, because it's not like one bad habit endorses the behavior or gets you to the mindset of thinking, oh, I'm going to have greasy food because that's what I need because I've gotten drunk. And then it starts to get that vicious cycle happening again. And before you know it, you're drinking every weekend with your mates, or you're drinking every afternoon, just thinking that a couple aren't going to hurt. It's like, I'm just having a couple of beers here, that'll be fine. Then you just start doing it more. You start increasing the limit, and it's that bad snowball effect of what you shouldn't be doing. And to touch upon quickly about what you said with your emotions in the train analogy, I 100% agree with that. I like to remain neutral with all my decisions and all my thoughts, because the best way to be is neutral. When you get emotions involved in any decision, you're going to make the wrong decision. If you're too happy, you'll make the wrong decision. If you're too angry, you'll make the wrong decision. The more you can think of it as a logical point of view with a bit of reason and saying, well, is this beneficial? What's the harm? What's the benefits of it? What's it going to do for my future? What's it going to take away from my present? Things like this. And it's not always that you're able to do that, but I was told this a lot growing up. Think before you do something. Think before you say something. And a lot of people just don't. They just like do, and then they wonder why they're fucked up so much. And it's because they haven't taken those 10 minutes or even those 2 seconds before an action.
If you're going to have impulses, make them good ones.
Yeah.
If you're going to be impulsive, then impulsively get up and go to the gym. I mean, there's so many, I mean, I could be on this podcast for hours. There's so many things, like when you get up in the morning, instead of checking your phone, literally get up, go straight out of bed, walk outside, stand outside barefoot, and just look up at the sky and take 3 deep breaths and just name off a couple of things that you're grateful for. Even if it's a shit day, even if it's pouring down rain, I'm grateful for the ability to feel this fucking stupid rain on my, you're going to have a much better day. Just small little things like that, it's the switching the habits. There's thousands upon thousands of good things that you can do for yourself that are just small little things that take 5-10 minutes that'll vastly improve your life. It doesn't have to start at working out. It doesn't have to start at anything like that. And you were 100% right, like earlier, to touch on the men's mental health thing. It's okay to be not okay, and it's okay to ask for help. I know I didn't, and there's a huge stereotype and block with a lot of men, especially men, when it comes to mental health. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be in a bad position. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help. It's never okay to give up. That's never the option. That's not a good thing. It's not going to be successful for anybody in the process. It's going to be detrimental. It's going to be traumatic, and you're not going to be able to live anymore. Make the small changes, improve yourself, ask for help for the mental health thing. It's the small things that are going to change your life. It's all a mental game. It's all up in your head.
That's exactly it. Before we close it off, Linda, do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to add to?
I just want
Go ahead, Linda.
I just was going to piggyback on the never giving up on yourself. Always move forward, ask for help. That's the perfect advice right there to close us out. And did you have something else that you wanted to impart?
I was just gonna say improvefit.us, and let me double check my Instagram.
We'll be able to put it in the description of the video as well.
Perfect. ImproveFit_coaching is my Instagram handle. I do online and in person. Let's improve. Let's get better.
That's it. So thanks for the podcast. Thanks for the podcast today. I'm going to have you on definitely. So we continue and talk for so much longer. I say this to a lot of the guests, but I think because we just have such amazing guests such as yourself. So thank you again for your time, and I look forward to future podcasts with you.
Yeah, look forward to it as well. I've done one with Linda before, and I'm not shy of getting on a camera and talking some more. So perfect.
Oh, well, thank you for that. So hope everyone has a lovely day, and I'll talk to you all later.
Yep, you as well.